Okay, so we've been talking about event-driven programming, which is a really critical piece of game building, the game building that we're going to be doing, and you know, lots of other game building environments use event-driven programming. I'd probably say most. This next bit, I'm not as excited about having to present it to you, but I think it's probably, it seems like it's something we're going to need, at least in the short term, to get into some game building, and that is global variables. So let me just show you real quick in Logo some global and local variables. So I'm going to make our local variable first. I'm going to say to greet person. So remember in Logo, to define a procedure we say to, then the procedure name. Then if there are any inputs, we put the inputs there with a colon in front of them. Okay, so person is going to be my input. So this procedure greet is going to need one input called person. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say show. I'm going to make a sentence out of hello person. Okay, so now if I say greet Dolores. Oh, you know what? Let me make this an announce. It'll be more fun. Okay. If I say greet Dolores, it'll say hello, Dolores. But notice that person, even though person has a value in here, if I say show person over here, it says person has no value. So person only has value inside here. Okay, so this variable here, this person variable, is a local variable. We call it a local variable because it's local to this set of instructions. Okay, and the idea here is you really just want to keep variables around for as long as you need them, for one thing. And for another thing, it kind of, you know, you want to like leave as much as you can, as much as it makes sense. You want to, when you're finished a method, you want to be back. You want everything in the world to go back the way it was. You don't. You want to disturb as little as possible. Okay, when you do something. Whereas another kind of variable that you can have is if I say make, let's say make greeting be let's say happy birthday. Oh. Okay, so now I have this variable. Now if I say show person, I still can't. The person doesn't have any value. But if I say show greeting, greeting has a value. So greeting, because I use the make here in the console, in the console area here, that it still has value, and in fact I can use it here. I could say SE, make a sentence out of greeting and person, and if I say, now if I say, get rid of the rest of this stuff. Now if I say greet Dolores, it says happy birthday Dolores, because greeting has the value of happy birthday. If I say make greeting have the value of hi, And now if I say greet Dolores, it'll say hi Dolores. Okay, so that's the difference between a global variable and a local variable. The problem with global variables is that you can kind of lose track of what they're supposed to be in different places. So if I had a whole bunch of procedures written up here, and I was using greeting in different places, I might change the value of greeting in a way that I didn't intend for other methods to see, or it's just makes things messy. So it's best to, even another way to do things is to make variables that are just local to the turtle. So you can stick in variables that just belong to this turtle or something like that. But this global stuff really is generally can make things really messy. But that said, I think we are going to need to do some global variables in Code Sculptor. So let's talk about that. So let's do some global and local variables. Okay. So, for example, let's say we're doing x and y coordinates, and we say x equals, x is going to be 50, and we say print x. So this is kind of like doing the make in the control center there in micro worlds. So if we do this, then we have x is 50, and we can go into we can make a local function like well, we'll just make a function, call it f, and here we can say well, we could do what? We could do y equals x plus 20, right? And then print y. What did I do? Oh yeah, then we have to actually run that procedure there. So if I say f, so now this will actually execute f here. So there, so y is 70. But now notice we made a global variable x, y is a local variable. So if I just try to say print y out here, it's not going to be happy. So see, it's saying y is not defined. So y is not defined out here, just like in Logo, where if we just have this guy defined for the function, it's going to say, if I say show person, it's going to say person has no value because it's not defined outside of this function. All right. What else? Oh, also, let's say we do this. Let's set x equal to 100. Now we know we can't print y out here, but we could certainly print x. So let's see what happens. I'm going to clear everything because we know x is global, right? Well, look at that. I set x equal to 100 over here. Oh, I forgot to do f, didn't I? Hold on. That makes it less dramatic. Let me put the f in here. Okay, so let's try again. So now I should print x, print y. Oh no, I'm sorry. I should print x, and then I'm going to do f, and then I'm going to print x again. And let's see what happens. So look at that. It said set x equal to 100. Y equals 100 plus 20 is 120, so it printed 120. And then but then x got to be 50 again. So what's going on there? So I think actually a good way to look at this is maybe if we go into, I'm going to copy this into another online Python interpreter here called Python Tutor. This is kind of a nice one too, because it shows you, it helps you visualize what's going on here somewhere. So I'm going to select all. Oops. How come I don't want to select all? Oh, that's weird. Okay, how about if I do this and say paste? Okay, so I'm pasting in that little bit of code that we just had. And I want to kind of just step through it and see. So I'm going to say visualize execution. And so let's see how this works. So we start out at the beginning. So this little arrow, see the red line? The red arrow points to the next line to execute. Next line to execute. So the next line to execute is the first line, x equals 50. So let's go forward on that. And it says, see, it says global variables. So we have a global variable x with a value of 50. Okay? And then the next line to execute is print x. Oh, and there's a faded green arrow. I don't know if you can even see it. But if you go try playing with this, you'll see it. There's this faded green arrow that points to the line that was just executed. And the red arrow is pointing to the line that's about to be executed. So the next thing we have to do is say print x. So I say forward, and it printed out the 50. Now we're going in here and we're defining this function f. So what's going to happen is we're going to create a new global variable f that we use to refer to this function. Okay, so let's go forward there. So see, now we have this function f, and it's a pointer to this actual function. All right, and we'll talk about pointers later, but the basic idea is that you use pointers when you're trying to store an object, but you're not really sure how big that object's going to be. So you kind of say, okay, well, I'll just stick an address in here at this point, and that address will take me to the place where the chunk of code or whatever is. Okay, but here, since x is just a number, we know how big that number, big integers are or whatever. Since we're storing an integer, we just allocate the space for the integer right here. Okay, but anyway, so we've got two global variables now. We've got x, which points to 50, and we've got f, which points to this function. Okay, so now the next thing we're gonna do is execute the function. And see, our light green arrow is up here right at the define f. Our red arrow is telling us the next thing we're going to do is execute this function f. So let's go forward and do that. And it said, and so to execute this function, the first thing we do is whatever's the first line here on f. And now see, it's saying before we were adding global variables, now we're inside this function f, and we're executing this function. So let's see. So boom. So now look at this. We have x equals 100. Even while we still have this global variable x equals 50, we have a local variable here, x equals 100. Okay? So this x is different from this x. All right? So when you define a new variable inside of a function, it's considered to be a local function unless you do something special, which I'll show you after we get through this. So here it goes. We're going to add y is going to be x plus 20, and we know x is 100. So let's see. So we go forward. Y becomes 120 because 100 plus 20 is 120. Excuse me. The next thing we do is print y. Okay, and right here it says return value of none. If you don't explicitly say return, like if I had said return y, then the return value would have been 120. But since there's no return instruction here, then it just returns none automatically. Okay, so basically all Python functions are reporters as far as what we would consider a reporter to be in Logo. But if it can report none. So in a way, reporting none might be kind of like commands, but really they're all reporters. They all report something. If you don't tell it what to report, it'll report none. Okay, so the return value was none. Go forward here, and now we print out X, and bam, there's the 50. Okay, so so that's what was going on. Now there is something you can do, like I said. Let's see, how do we go back and re-edit this guy? Edit code. So there is something you can do to make this X refer to this global X, and that is to type in global X. Okay, so now let's execute this one and see how it goes. Alright, so forward. So now we have this global variable X. Okay. And we print it out. We have this global F pointing to that function. We go forward here. Now look, we didn't even execute that line, but that's because that's in there. What happened? Look at this time, because we said global X, this X up here changed to 100. So we didn't create any local variable. We're referring to the original global variable up here. So now we're going to say forward 120. Okay, Y is 120. So now we only have one local variable this time because we said X is global. And that's that one, that's Y. And now if we say forward, returns none still. And now look at X is 100. If we print X, it's 100. Okay, so if you want to keep something, if you want to be able to change the value of some global variable, you have to declare it global in the function.